Hello, and a very warm welcome, and a merry, 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 a very, 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 very merry Christmas to you. Welcome to my one live viewer, and welcome to everyone who's watching this recording. Let's take a moment and come into the moment. Let's come into the present moment, inviting God in, inviting Christ into our lives. And it's asking God to come in more deeply. Becoming aware of the divine energy, the divine presence. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Pardon, I'm going to turn off my phone and first check my phone. That could be someone trying to join in. This is live TV. Nope. Okay, good. So, it's Christmas Day. This is the day that a large part of the world commemorates the birth of Jesus Christ. So what's the big deal about Jesus? Why? What's the big hoopty-la? Well, different people will give you different answers. Like said another way, what's so special about Jesus? And I'd like to give you my answer. And it's just one, but it's kind of my main answer. But to do this, we need to travel back in time a little bit. Thank you, Jesus. So we're going to travel back in time to a time that isn't captured in recorded history. So according to Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Sikhism, those are the 6 largest religions of the world. Together they make up probably 75% of the world right now. Welcome, Germana. There are many differences amongst these traditions, but they all actually have some similarities. One of them is they all claim that at one point, life was paradise on this earth. They might language it a little differently, but that core idea is there in all of them. And of course, it's in Judaism as well. And those are just the traditions. I kind of listed off the traditions based on the number of adherents. But I'm guessing many indigenous or native traditions have that claim as well, or that belief. So Bruno Greoning said that this was the case. And I'd like to read a quote of Bruno's. One of the interesting things about Bruno Greoning is he never read an entire book all the way through. Can you think about that? It's so amazing. Today to become a minister in Christianity, the largest religion, a lot of study. And I'm sure the same is for Islam. And I know the same is true for Hinduism. Those are the 3 largest religions of the world. To become a religious official, the main emphasis is study. And here comes Bruno Greoning, who never read a single book, whose teaching and life really encapsulates and holds every religion. So as I said, just to back up, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Sikhism, Judaism, the 7 largest world religions, and I haven't looked, but I'd be willing to bet sort of native or indigenous traditions, many of them I would be willing to bet have the same belief that once this earth was really a paradise. Here's what Bruno Greoning said. God created the human being beautiful, good, and healthy, which is how he wanted him to be. Originally, there was an indestructible bond between God and the human being, and there was only love, harmony, and health. All was one. Original goodness. We were created good, and originally everything was good in a way that it's hard for us to even fathom what that would have been like. The Buddhist scriptures describe that if you threw a piece of rice on the ground, a whole rice stalk would just sprout, that things grew. There was no need for farming, that it was effortless to have food. Just that one simple thing. Who can imagine that? Bruno Greoning, as did many of these traditions, say that human beings made some bad decisions that cut them off from that goodness. Here's what Bruno said. But when the first person listened to the voice, listened to the evil which spoke from beyond the unity and did what it said, the connection was severed, and a great chasm developed between God and the human being. There is no connection. On his own, a human being... So actually, before I go any further, so you find in different traditions have a different telling of that happening, of the disconnect. There's like original goodness, paradise, disconnect. And then what happened after that? Well, here's what Bruno said. On his own, a human being, no matter how devout, no matter how much he prays, will constantly be attacked on his life path by the evil and dragged down into the depths. So Bruno Greoning, and he's not alone in this, you'll find different flavors of this in each of these traditions, pointed out that a human being on their own could not escape from this disconnect, couldn't reconnect. So then how to reconnect? Well, different traditions have different answers, and I'm here sharing what Bruno Greoning taught, and that is the path of Christ. Bruno Greoning said that Christ's coming here, and that what Christ did and what Christ taught, and actually who Christ is the answer to that chasm, the answer to that disconnect. We read over the last couple of days, been reading a speech of his, and Bruno said to follow Christ, that's our entire path. And he actually said that everyone eventually must walk the path of Christ. So what is the path of Christ? Well, my understanding is it's to surrender to and follow God. And you'll find that exact theme in each of those traditions I mentioned. It doesn't, not so much in Buddhism, but in every other of those major, it's a universal theme: surrender to and connection with God. And according to Bruno Greoning, Christ was really these are my words interpreting what Bruno said, but the prime example of that. of being in service, being a servant of, an instrument of God. So let's take a little time and continue to take in this divine energy and reflect on all of this. So sometimes I'm a little uncomfortable speaking on this topic because it's slightly theological, right? Most of what Bruno taught was just practical, but this particular topic is a little it's a little more theological than what Bruno normally teaches. How Bruno normally teaches. So I started off just thinking, oh, this is true because Bruno teaches it. And that lasted for as long as it lasted. And then I started to really reflect for myself, well, is it true? Is Bruno right that once it was paradise and also that it will be paradise again? And I have absolute faith that he's correct. I can't say absolute. I have deep, deep faith. And that faith is based on the fact that this particular teaching is universal. It shows up across the board, across all these major traditions. You know, it's kind of like a slogan in today's Christian world to say, Jesus is the answer. And I think Bruno Greoning might modify that a little bit. And he would say, God is the answer. And Jesus and the teachings, Christ and the teachings of Christ is the way to access this answer. And the answer, ultimately, if I understand what Bruno taught, is nothing more and nothing less than the power of God. And accessing that power and living guided by this power. Look at all these wonderful holiday wishes. Hey, Magdalena. Hi, Forever. Hey, Krista. Long time no. Welcome. You know, this phrase keeps coming to me, and so I'm gonna. So one moment, I'm gonna look it up to make sure I can translate it correctly. Um, so, so as I've shared many times, I love the study of different religions, and it's hard for me to say which one's my favorite. I've Bruno's teachings are the one that I have the most respect for. That is not a difficult thing to say at all. And Bruno's the teacher. Depending on the moment, I'll say Bruno or Jesus is the teacher I have the most respect for. But I'd like to. I hope this will be helpful to someone. It just keeps coming to me over and over, and it's it's the title. It's the title of the main Taoist text, and the reason it'll make sense in a moment. While, and it's called the Tao Te Ching. It's the fundamental Taoist, and Taoist is an ancient Chinese philosophical tradition / religion. And it's made up of 3 words, which I'm going to type out. Tao Te Ching. Jing is not so important. It means classic or great work. But Tao, Tao has many translations. It can be translated as the way. Here, I'm just going to read the definition from Wikipedia. It implies the essential, unnameable process of the universe. I would also add to that source. The word Tao is sort of the idea of that which gave birth to everything, that which is the source of everything, and yet is beyond all words. You could say the Chinese philosophical view of God, Tao, but this vast, all-pervasive reality. And then day. Day can be translated as virtue, but that's an overly simplistic translation. Really what it means is power, like spiritual power. It can be translated also as goodness, but it has this connotation of, here it says on Wikipedia, inner potency or divine power. So it's not just power as in brute power. It's the power that comes from connection to the Tao, and also the power that lives within us. So this text, basically the title of this text is Tao Te Ching, the unmanifest source of everything, and the power that comes from that. And really, for me, that's the whole message of what Bruno Greoning taught. The whole message is that there is a great reality. He very simply called it God, but he also called it goodness and order and life and love. And he said that's everywhere and all pervasive. And that our life journey is about nothing more and nothing less than being connected to that great to the, as he would call it, the power source. Being guided by it, being connected to it, and being guided by it. No more, no less. Well, being connected to it, being guided by it, and then in that process of being connected and guiding by it, really being of service to it and to life, to creation. And according to Bruno Greoning, Jesus is the one that really taught and lived and showed that way and is very available. So again, 3 words, Tao Te Ching, and we can let go of Jing. Again, it just means classic or canon. It's a title for a book. But just in 2 words, I think that really sums up the whole path. Now we're each free to define God and understand God how we will. But this teaching of Bruno Greoning, yes, he talks about Jesus, but it isn't just for Christians. In fact, he said that what he taught would be of interest to all people. And for me, and Jesus didn't come to start a religion. There's been one built up around him. But what did he teach? He taught about God, our Father, our parent, and how to live in alignment with that. And then, of course, how to treat each other. So in those 2 simple words, Tao and Day, I believe the whole essence of what Jesus taught and what Bruno reminded us of is right there. So let's take a little time and reflect on this idea, whether you call it Allah or Yahweh or God the Father, a supreme vast reality. And this supreme, and the thing is, in Taoism, the virtue and the power comes from living in alignment with the Tao, but also living in alignment with the goodness within us. That's how to access true power, according to Taoism. And I can think of no shorter, sweeter, or simpler description of the whole path that Jesus came to teach and that Bruno came to remind us of. So let's align with God. That's one of the meanings of Einstellen. Let's position ourselves. That's another meaning of Einstellen. Let's let the limitless reality adjust us. That's another meaning of Einstellen, to adjust. To be brought into, let's align ourselves with this supreme reality and let it bring us into order, into harmony. So that's my understanding of, that's why, well, let me put it this way. That's why Christmas is so important to me and why Jesus is so important to me. Because he showed us the way to align with the way of the universe. It's my belief that he completely aligned himself with it. And hence he was able to say, the Father and I are one. But I'm also utterly convinced that that's the path for all of us, to seek deeper and deeper alignment until we can make that same statement, until we are in complete communion and union and service to the great reality. Bruno Greoning said, I want you all to become masters of life. That's what he called us to. And I'm convinced that's what Christ called us to. And they're very available to help along the way. So a Merry, Merry Christmas to one and all. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. My heart is smiling. I can think of, I can think of no better way. And I mean, I'd love to do this in person. So that wouldn't be true to say I can think of no better way, but I'm deeply, deeply grateful and I'm filled with much joy. Thank you each for the present of your presence. Please don't believe anything I say. What I will claim is that when the one thing that I will claim about myself is, I do my absolute best to accurately represent what Bruno Greoning said down to the word. And I'm a fallible human, so please reflect on what I said. Don't take it as the truth. Find out if it's the truth. And when I bring in other teachings, such as I did today with Taoism, it's not so much to promote Taoism as it is to look at Bruno Greoning's teachings using a different languaging. And also because the further I go on this path with Bruno and his teachings, the more and more I'm convinced that Bruno Greoning was able to express the universal truths of life, the universal truths that are scattered throughout all these different traditions. And Bruno Greoning was able to express them so simply and so directly. You're very welcome, Dolores. Thanks for saying hi. So friends, let's align ourselves with the Tao, with Source, God. And let's ask for any situations, any people, I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful day. Look at those Christmas trees. Thanks, Magdalena. Take care, angels. See and feel you very soon. Haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do a noon meeting today, but we will be meeting again very soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Actually, I'm going to do a noon meeting. I can't not. Thanks so much. See and feel you all very soon. Take care.